Hi, good day. This is CM105, an explainer video presentation on the frequently asked questions on customs valuation. Question number 1. What is customs valuation and how does it work? Customs valuation is a procedure applied by customs authorities for the determination of the dutiable value or total worth of imported articles in order to arrive with the correct amount of import duties to be paid. So if the rate of duty is ad valorem, the customs value is essential to determine the duty to be paid on an imported good. In customs valuation, the dutiable value of imported goods shall be determined using one of the 6 methods of valuation, as these are set out in a sequential order of application. The primary method for customs valuation is a transaction value, and imported goods are to be valued in accordance with the provisions of this method whenever the conditions prescribed for its use are fulfilled. Where the dutiable value cannot be determined under the transaction value method, it is to be determined by proceeding sequentially through the succeeding methods to the first, such methods under which the dutiable value can be determined. Question number 2. Customs valuation importance and its purpose. Customs valuation importance and its purpose. First is to have fair, uniform, and neutral system for the valuation of goods for customs purposes that precludes the use of arbitrary or fictitious customs values. Second, the customs valuation is an essential element for compiling trade statistics, monitoring quantitative restrictions, applying tariff preferences, and collecting national taxes. Third is to recognize that the basis for valuation of good for customs purposes should to the greatest extent possible be the transaction value of the goods being valued. Next is to recognize that the customs value should be based on simple and equitable criteria consistent with commercial practices, and that valuation procedures should be the general application without distinction between the sources of supply. And lastly, to recognize that the valuation procedures should not be used to combat dumping. Question number 3. From what international organization the customs valuation comes from? The rules for valuing imports for purposes of assessing customs duties are well settled, as these were defined in the World Trade Organization Customs Valuation Agreement, which the formal name is the Agreement on the Implementation of Article 7 of the General Agreement on Tariffs and Trade. Question number 4. What is the basis of customs valuation in the Philippines? For customs purposes, the primary method for valuation under Section 701 of the CMTA is the transaction value of the imported goods, which is basically defined as the price actually paid or payable for the goods when sold for export to the Philippines, with certain dutiable adjustments. Question number 5. What are the 6 methods of valuation? The WTO agreement prescribes a hierarchy of 6 methods that customs authorities need to apply sequentially and conditionally in computing transaction values. Method 1, with the transaction value system. The method 2, the transaction value of identical goods. The method 3, the transaction value of similar goods. The method 4, the deductive value. Method 5, computed value. And lastly, the method 6, the fallback value. Question number 6. What is the Philippine law that governs the customs valuation? In 1996, Congress passed into legislation the Republic Act No. 8181, which provided for the shift in customs valuation from the home consumption value to the General Agreement on Tariff and Trade Valuation System, otherwise known as the transaction value method, which was implemented only on January 1 of 2000. However, the Republic Act No. 8181 was observed to be lacking in technical compliance with the mandate of the WTO Valuation Agreement in terms of phraseology and content. Thus, the Republic Act No. 9135 was passed into law, while in fact that the CAO 5 of 2001 was designed to reform and implement this law. the Philippines has committed to implement the WTO Valuation Agreement. Thus, the Republic Act of 9135, enacted on April 27 of 2001, has adopted the transaction value system. Question number 7. What is the current status of the Philippine Customs Valuation? So, it abides and adopted the WTO valuation, the sequential method of valuation from Method 1 up to Method 6, which was the 4th and 5th are interchangeable upon the request of the importer. Currently, the Bureau of Customs implemented the Enhanced Value Reference Information System, which is a superseded National Value Verification System. Question number 8. How does customs valuation affect the job of a customs broker? The customs broker represents in behalf of the consignee to the government, as he or she will facilitate the faster release of goods by declaring for the accuracy of the goods, but shall not be responsible for the payment of duties, taxes, and other charges to imported goods based on the shipping documents handled by the consignees. If the data does not jive and is not accepted by the Bureau of Customs, consignee may comply with additional documents supported to the imported goods through the help of the customs broker, as value may be dependent on the transaction of obtaining the goods with trust and confidence. Lastly, the consignee should inform the customs broker if there are complexities of the shipment, especially if it is involved in third party, because when customs will challenge the value in declaration, the customs broker can support with details, documents, and knowledge in order to avoid the delay of the release of goods and payments of fines, penalties, and other charges for discrepancy. Question number 9. Can an article be released from the Bureau of Customs without customs valuation? The majority of importations will fall to be valued under the transaction value method. In this case, the article may not be released from the Bureau of Customs without customs valuation because an importer or an authorized agent needs to declare the value of imported goods as a part of goods declaration at the customs entry point along with supporting invoice. Goods shall be released only after payment of duties, taxes, and other charges or posting of appropriate security covering the same, in case of tentative assessment including any fine or surcharge if applicable, and all the pertinent rules and regulations have been complied with. Question number 10. What are the pros and cons of customs valuation? The pros of customs valuation: first, reduce discretion, made valuation more transparent, and provide customs authorities with post-entry audit system to improve compliance and assure revenues. Prescribe high tariff protection in order to protect domestic industries. Next, higher predictability and accountability of procedures worldwide for determining the dutiable value. And lastly, reducing the time required to process Bureau's import assessment and cargo and clearance system. While the cons of the customs valuation is the consignee tends or intentionally will lower declared amounts that will result in lower revenues collected by the government. Trade secrets of the consignee will be exposed in times of challenging the declaration. And that will be all. Thank you for listening.